And now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Constance.
Good morning to you, Charles. Wonderful to see you this morning.
Great to see you today, too.
Good morning, Yolanda.
Good morning, Dr. Constance.
How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I am wonderful. I'm doing great. I'm happy. I'm excited.
Oh, wow.
Everything.
I like that.
Tell us more. Tell us more. There should be a reason for it.
There is more later in the newsroom.
All right.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, sure. To look at the papers with us today, we have Dr. Everest Emefiele. He is the editorial consultant and former group business editor of The Punch. Hello there and welcome to the program. We begin with this day. This day leads with the plight of internally displaced people in Nigeria, a group often forgotten because they're not always in plain sight. So the World Bank has approved 462 billion naira for 1.3 million IDPs and others in northern Nigeria. It says local governments unable to fully address challenges and project expected to benefit up to 7.4 million people for essential services. We know that majority of IDPs are found in the north, largely due to the Boko Haram insurgency. There's banditry and other armed conflict that continues to this day. The result is that millions abandon their homes to become refugees in their own country. The conditions in some of the camps are appalling. This project aims to address these challenges. This is an issue that cannot be ignored because of the long-term consequences. So we are looking at prolonged displacement that could lead to extreme poverty, inequality, generations essentially trapped in dependency, and it can also be a threat to national cohesion. So apart from this project, though, more is expected from states on this front. Dr. Emefiele.
It's good that we can get resources from outside the country to address the issue of IDPs. And as much resources as possible is required so that we can handle the issues that concern the IDPs. However, we need to address the root causes of the IDPs. We are having more IDPs. It's not just the northeast or northwest now. We also have them in the north central. We have more displaced persons in Benue State, and these are things that we can really address if we address the security situation instead of allowing more people to be displaced and to become displaced in their own country. It is not a good thing. The earlier we address the security challenges, the better for us, so that we can tackle the issue of IDPs from the root.
You're right that there are root causes, and if those root causes are not taken care of, then every other thing that we're doing is essentially cosmetic. But as we can see, it looks like the government is trying everything it can. I mean, not everything it can, but we can see that the challenges are more complex, and they continue up to this day. We'll take a second story in that same paper, from IDPs to one more story of disorderly passenger on a flight that now many people have now tagged as Kwam 2, following the disturbance that happened last week with the popular Fuji musician Wasiu Ayinde Marshall. Here this day has a headline as another unruly passenger attacks cabin crew on Ibom air flight. Obi condemns double standard by security agencies. Keyamo, person who released video of stripped lady, to be sanctioned. Let's see the same story in Vanguard newspaper. Unruly Ibom air passenger charged, court remanded in Kirikiri prison. We've all seen that video of Ibom air passenger Miss Comfort Emanson, who had an altercation with airline staff. She has been placed on a no-fly list. There are different versions of the story on what actually transpired, but from the video seen, she was highly agitated and behaved violently at times. The staff or airport officials, on the other hand, manhandled her. Her top was torn to pieces and she was practically naked. She's been charged to court, and this was swift and reportedly is in Kirikiri maximum prison. I mean, the action is night and day compared to, you know, what happened with Kwam, the Fuji musicians, in terms of treatment. So opinions now are deeply divided. Kwam is walking free, maybe because he's a known man, but this 26-year-old lady is already in prison. Your thoughts, Dr. Mefele?
Yeah, Kwam 1, Kwam 2, and somebody raised
Kwam 3.
Kwam 3. What's going to be the Kwam 3? Yeah, there is no doubt that the situation has divided the countries, people taking sides. Some people are saying, why rush her to the maximum prison when Kwam 1 is going free? It calls for justice, that everybody should be treated equally before the law. And beyond that, I want to raise the issue of how should an unruly passenger be treated? What is the protocol for treating unruly passengers? Because we not only Kwam 1, even before Kwam 1, we had Adams or Shomole, and it's a global issue. How do you treat unruly passengers? The first thing is there should be the escalation of the problem. There should be communication, and then you should listen as much as possible. Try to de-escalate the challenge. Listen to the passenger, and you'll be able to address the challenge. I don't think anybody or any airline should want to be advertised in the way Ibom Air has been advertised. So the issue or the protocol for dealing with unruly passengers should be looked into by the airlines. And then the issue of justice is also very, very important. How do we treat people who commit similar offenses? And if we don't get it right, I think the opinion will continue to be divided.
In addition to what you said, there is a talk about our behavior in public spaces. You know, people should behave properly and be in consideration of other people around them. So when you do not do that, this kind of thing happens. So I think we might be seeing more of this, but I mean, it's a challenge for airlines, but not only airlines, we also see that in buses and other public spaces. Let's move on to Daily Trust newspaper. EFCC detains Tambuwal, invites ex-Governor Ehedioha. That article also appears in the Punch, and it's captioned "Panic in ADC as EFCC goes after key members. Tambuwal is being grilled over 189 billion fraud. 3 ex-governors have also been invited, and the party is pushing back. Aminu Tambuwal was governor of Sokoto State from 2015 to 2023. He was said to have withdrawn this amount of money in violation of the Money Laundering Act 2022. Investigations are ongoing. The National Secretary of the African Democratic Congress alleged that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission lacks integrity by reopening old cases against opposition politicians while turning blind eye to allegations against politicians in the ruling All Progressives Congress. Charles, this is a constant allegation against the EFCC that it is often used as a tool, a witch hunt tool against politicians that the administration does not like. But if found wanting, politicians should be able to answer, you know, to the authorities, you know, in cases such as this.
The former national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, did say that when you join the All Progressive Congress, even if you were a demon in your previous party, you become a saint. All your sins are forgiven. Now, what he left unsaid is that if you dare go against the APC, whether as an opposition member or as a one-time member of the party, then of course your sins will be brought to light. Either way, the politicians involved are being made to face justice. So, I mean, you leave your protective umbrella of the APC, then you face the music. I mean, if Tambuwal had actually remained in the All Progressives Congress, then who probably would have known that he had actually engaged in this kind of humongous corruption? 188 billion naira, that's not a mean amount of money. So either way, I mean, we're going to see justice being served, even though it is selective, but it's justice nonetheless, hopefully. So, well, one other commentator, I think a Tamwell supporter, source very close to Tamwell, said it's 100% politics. That's right, it is politics indeed. So, whatever happened with the former governor and Speaker of the House of Representatives, he's the sole architect of it. You leave your the APC, you face the music. It's as simple as that.
I mean, many ex-governors do have cases at the EFCC, so all those cases should be carried on to logical conclusion.
As long as they're members of the ADC.
No, whichever party it is, you know, in the interest of the public, and so that it should also serve as a deterrent to others. Let's look at a New Telegraph. Babachir Lawal, I want Nigerians Tinubu would sideline non-Yoruba supporters, says he can't forgive the president, has evidence Obi-Wan 2023 poll. The former secretary to the government is not the first person voicing President Tinubu's penchant for concentrating political power within a small circle of loyalists and for favoring his ethnic Yoruba base. Lawal says he has failed to recognize the role played by others in his emergence. President Tinubu is obviously an unpopular president, but this is not surprising because he won, you know, with only about 37% of the vote. So these allegations risk alienating him further from the people, doesn't it, Dr. Amefle? He would need to change course.
Yeah, we look forward to a Nigerian president, a president that we see every person as a citizen, irrespective of where the votes come from. What we see happening in the Tinubu administration had also happened in the previous administration. So we are looking forward to a pan-Nigerian president. But you also see that Babachir Lawal is talking because he's out of the circle. If he had remained with the president, he wouldn't have spoken. Headline. There are some other papers that capture the headline that Babachir is telling the North that they need to unite to restore power from Tinubu. So it is about self-interest. Once that self-interest is served, our politicians don't care. And for Tinubu, we thought it would be different, but no, it is not. And we still look forward to the pan-Nigerian president.
Will it never be different with anybody? Because, I mean, with the crop of politicians we have now, we see ethnic and regional politics playing out with every successive administration. Maybe with the exception of former President Goodluck Jonathan, who actually tried to please everybody.
What of also former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who was quite fair and nationalistic in the way he ran Nigeria.
Even then he was criticized. I mean, the issue of he favoring the Southwest came up as well. It did come
really.
up. Whether it, I mean, it was not as stringent, as strident as it is now, but it did come up every now and then.
Not really.
I should give it to Obasanjo. He was more fair.
Yeah. Yes, he was fair. That's the fact of the matter. But still, that ethnic card was still used against him. It's just that it was not so successful.
I don't think so. Anyway, let's move on to the next paper.
Side instances.
Daily Independent. Away from politics and some refreshing news. Nigeria's cocoa exports moved from 1.71 billion naira in 2023 to 1.2 trillion naira in 2024. And the LG poll, Rivers Indigenous Youth Tinubu sole administrator, Rivers Independent Electoral Commission. Cocoa now accounts for 29% of the country's total agric exports and 5.6% of non-oil exports. Yolanda, the main focus here is to explore and invest in cocoa production, according to the government. And this is a smart business as long as the government is walking the talk, isn't it?
Yes, very much agreed. You know, just as you said, 29% of total agricultural exports being cocoa, that is a staggering amount. It shows that cocoa is not just a commodity. It could actually be an economic game changer if it is managed properly. And I think this brings about so many avenues for investment opportunities, both locally and internationally. But all I worry about with these figures is the management of it. How are these numbers being managed? How is the producing of this product going to be handled on a larger scale?
Yeah, more work to be done there. And as for Rivers, Charles, Rivers indigents have gone to court now, challenging the elections that are to be held on August 30 this month. It is short time, but someone saying it's necessary to test these kind of things in court to see where that goes.
It is interesting that just before we started the newspaper review, we actually had some stakeholders here in the studio to discuss the issue with Rivers State. One of the main issues is that an administrator is not constitutionally empowered to supervise elections in the state. There is an elected governor there, agreed he's on suspension at the moment. Why not wait until he returns from suspension and then, conduct the elections? So there is this belief that there is some agenda somewhere, an unseen hand manipulating things in order to ensure that the local government elections in Rivers State conclude to someone's satisfaction. But the political leaders in Rivers State, regardless of their leaning, have actually risen up against this. And of course, before that election is conducted, there'll be a slew of court cases, and even after that election, it will still be beset by those legal challenges.
All right. Furthermore, when you listen to the people that went to court, they're saying that the government had an emergency rule based on the fact that it says public safety and public order was threatened in Rivers State. So if public order and safety was threatened, why are you then conducting an election under those circumstances? That's part of their argument. Let's look at the international headlines. Daily Graphic: prophecies. Christian leaders urge caution on the rising trend of prophecies and how it is handled in Ghana. The Citizen newspaper: DS assault on BBEE. This refers to the broad-based Black economic empowerment, a government policy that addresses historical inequalities in South Africa. The DA has laid out its own economic plan that it says will exercise, quote, destructive ANC policies. In fact, the DA has called for the scrapping of this, government policy, Black empowerment, and replace it with laws that grow the economy, saying the Black empowerment program has become counterproductive. It also says that this benefits politically connected individuals only and large corporations, and that many small and medium enterprises are completely excluded. Yolanda, this is a touchy subject for Black people in South Africa. Nevertheless, if there is room for improvement, perhaps the law should be revisited as DA proposes. And by the way, DA is part of the government of national unity, so I don't know how they're going to wriggle out of this.
Dr. Constance, this issue that's going on in South Africa is not just on a political scale. It has so many social implications, and unfortunately, a lot of those implications look a lot like what apartheid was before. Let me remind you that recently we've been having so many reports about this Operation Dudula that South Africans are having, trying to get foreign nationals out of the country. And it's in such a forceful, horrendous, and sometimes a violent manner that it just makes you wonder, why isn't any legal action being taken? And they're saying things like, they're not breaking any laws, they're not doing anything bad, but it's so much at play with this. It's such a touchy issue because it also touches on the effectiveness of the policies that are there already, and as well political strategy. So it's really difficult to say, and this is a story that we've been running for some time now. And, I don't know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, it's an unfolding story.
I don't know how it's going to turn out, yeah.
Okay, the Daily Telegraph, Kyiv ready to give up land for peace. Zelensky softens before Trump and Putin's crunch meeting in Alaska. This is a stunning turn of events, given that Zelensky had always maintained Ukraine will not give up land. And in the Times newspaper, if you can pull that up, Trump promising Ukraine, I will try to get Ukraine some land back, but also insists Ukraine must accept new borders. A meeting about Ukraine in Alaska without Ukraine, the Europeans are not enthused about this, Yolanda.
Yeah. In April of this year, the mayor of Kyiv actually said that Ukraine may have to temporarily give up land for peace. And that was just a few months ago. So as much as it's a surprise to the whole world, if you're following the story very closely, you'll see that these are discussions that have been going on for a long time. Now, is it give up land temporarily, or is it give up land for good? Only time will tell.
Yeah, and it looks like Putin, is just running the rounds around Donald Trump. That's what some people say. But let's wait for that Alaska meeting and the outcome. The Guardian newspaper, the truth has died. Global fury as Israeli strike kills journalists. These were Al Jazeera journalists, 5 of them, with one accused of being a Hamas leader, or the leader of one of the cells of Hamas. This right here is going to harden more countries to recognize the state of Palestine and the push for a two-state solution, as we can see. Dr. Mayfula, any thoughts on this quickly?
Yeah, there is always an international protocol for handling journalists covering the war. This is not fair that those that are covering the war should be made to pay the price. But it tells us also that the might is right, whether it is in Russia or whether it is in Israel. Those that have the resources to fight, they continue to do what they want to do, irrespective of what the world is saying. I think maybe we need a new global system that can rein in those that have the might.
The global system, the rules-based order as it is today, is completely broken.
Yes.
We can see that happening everywhere. Hopefully a new one emerges. But finally, the Financial Times, Macron's hired investigators to probe U.S. podcaster ahead of defamation suit. We're talking about Candace Owens, who publicly claimed in her podcast that Brigitte Macron, wife of French President Emmanuel Macron, is transgender, a man that transformed into a woman. So they're not letting her off the hook, and she stands on her claims. More about that to come. We'll be watching that space for you. We'll have to leave it there now. Dr. Everest Mayfula, who is an editorial consultant and former group business editor of The Punch, thank you for joining us this morning.
And thank you, Dr. Constance, for leading today's newspaper review. That's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.